It's time for The Verdict. The Verdict is a lively discussion of current events and legal issues pertinent to Oklahomans. The Verdict is hosted by Kent Myers and Mick Cornett. It's time for The Verdict.
Hello there once again, and welcome to the set of The Verdict. Mick Cornett with Kent Myers and another show lined up today that I think a lot of people will be interested in.
I think so. This morning we're going to be talking about pressures facing students, schools, and parents in today's environment. We have recently seen reports about 5, 6, 7-year-old students being handcuffed out of control at school and police coming in and handcuffing them. Too often we hear about school shootings and the like, and threatening notes to students, bullying problems, and metal detectors in schools. A very different environment today than perhaps when you and I were in school. And we have somebody here this morning to talk about how schools deal with those kinds of problems. And certainly schools are dealing with those kinds of problems, have to. And it's a different set of equations than we used to know.
Good subject. We'll jump right into it. When we return, you're watching The Verdict, and we'll be right back.
American Express Tax and Business Services. We're accountants. We do taxes, business valuations, estate planning, and consulting. And we're right here in Oklahoma, working with the owners of small and medium-sized businesses. Steve Wilsey and Stuart Meyer have the resources and the experience. American Express Tax and Business Services. In Oklahoma City, the phone number is 405-843-5311.
At Big Red Sports and Imports right now, you can come in and buy a brand new 05 Kia Rio for only $79.88. Notice no stock number? Because right now we have over 50 to choose from. That's right, you go into these other dealers, they don't have but 1 or 2. We have over 50, and we want to sell them today, all for only $79.88. That's right, $79.88 delivered, that's what you pay. And with no disclaimer, it's happening in only one place. Big Red Sports and Imports, I-35, Norman.
Doppler radar. Which is the fastest? Which is the most powerful? The fact is, all stations use the same NEXRAD data to warn the viewers, but only one station has eyes on the ground all over the state.
I appreciate KSBI's coverage of my hometown.
Okay, severe weather continues across the area right now. We have storm trackers all around it.
Yeah, I've got a clear shot of this whole front that's coming in.
And our State Cam network showing us live video of what's coming in across the area.
Oklahoma's first and only State Cam network gives you a look as severe weather approaches your home.
So this is a live shot from the first and only State Cam network in Oklahoma.
Look at this dark thunderstorm outflow. It looks like some heavy precipitation.
It's very accurate, and it lets me know what to expect.
And one thing that we focus on very, very highly here on KSBI, let's just stick with the facts.
I just don't like all the drama you get from the other guys.
And KSBI's commitment to Oklahoma is accurate, severe weather information without all the hype.
Keep it here on KSBI, your family's weather source.
Heritage Hall, an independent college preparatory school. Here we celebrate our scientists, our athletes, our mathematicians, and our future artists.
Our students love to learn. A welcoming school for children aged 3 through grade 12. We are a community. We are a family. We are Heritage Hall.
And welcome back to the set of The Verdict. Mick Cornett with Kent Myers, and Kent's going to introduce our guest.
We are very pleased this morning to have Dr. Marcia Moore from Casady School joining us. Dr. Moore is a Ph.D. In psychology. She's been at Casady School since 2002. Basically a native Texan to start with, but a transplanted Oklahoman. She got her BA at Northwestern University and her master's and Ph.D. at the University of Texas at Austin. She was in private practice for a number of years as well as teaching. And recently joined Casady to assist them in dealing with the the workings of Casady School and the fine way that it operates, by the way. She coordinated the first disaster response training for the Edmond post office shooting and was involved with the Oklahoma City bombing response team. She has been involved with the mental health, the board of the Mental Health Association for many years here in Oklahoma County, and has received a number of awards. Marcia, thanks for joining us today to talk about the pressures that students, parents, and schools are facing. We're glad to have you.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Marcia, I'm interested to know your take on the transgressions from one generation to another. Is it different growing up today than it was when you and I were growing up and our grandparents growing up? Are there similarities? Are there differences? But most importantly, what are the differences today than there was 20, 30 years ago?
I think the differences are more significant than the similarities, because there are similarities that are significant and important, but those differences are the pressures and the role modeling that the children get through things like the internet, the access to any number of sources of information that previously we didn't have, the experience of violence and other social problems that are condoned more through games, through TV programs. There are influences in their lives within the culture that are much different than what we experienced, and the safety issues even within the environment, not being able to go out on a bike ride for any extended period in some areas because it's not even safe to play. Mm-hmm. So that's of concern. If pop culture glamorizes deviant behavior, is that detrimental to a child, or are they old enough and mature enough to realize that that's one thing and my life is another? No, it depends on their developmental level, but the younger children who are watching so many hours of television really are at risk because these different behaviors are being glorified and are really like role models to our children. There's statistics that came out of a study that was done with 12 to 16-year-olds, the National Institute of Child Health and Human Development, in which they spoke about the problems with kids that have televisions in their rooms. And they are twice as likely to smoke pot. They're 30% more likely to drink, and 50% more likely to engage in early sexual behavior. Than students who don't have TVs in their room. Exactly. And so, you know, there are those things that are definitely role model kind of issues, and they are problematic. Mick, I didn't have a TV in my room when I was growing up. It explains the fine person you've grown into. Well, it was only because there wasn't TV when I was growing up. But I'll take the break. Dr. Moore, how did you become involved with Casady School? Fine sponsor of the verdict, and we've had Charlie Britton on before. Yes. A very great institution. How did you become involved with Casady? I first was introduced to Casady in the early 80s when Dr. Woolsey was the headmaster, and I had a subspecialty in my work as a psychologist in working with handicapped children and their families. And I was invited to go and share in a parenting group that was being held because they had a special program for preschool and kindergarten level learning different children. And then years later, after I'd been in private practice here, and was very involved just with a variety of things, working with students from Casady and other schools in my private practice. I was invited to consider coming because the person who was retiring as the psychologist at that time recommended me and two other people to the headmaster and said she would be a good choice. So that was how it started. A moment ago we were talking about the pressures that young people feel or sense and how it might affect them socially. But we didn't talk about how that might affect them from a learning standpoint. Are there pressures out there that make it more difficult for kids to learn constructively? Yes. Children get preoccupied with things that are a part of their immediate environment and attention. And if they are feeling safe in their environment, then their learning is going to be enhanced. But if they are experiencing problems that may be prompted from things like violence that is condoned at some level and it translates then into bullying, then, for example, the child is going to be
concerned with safety and not being attentive to those things that may be a part of their learning. That's just one example.
How do those things come to your attention?
Well, at Casady School, as you will remember, you asked about that with Mr. Britton, and he said that in our school that bullying is not tolerated. Well, that's true, but there are issues that come up with that, with children's play, and where there are repeated patterns of unkindness or of name-calling or other physical behavior, and that comes to my attention through the teachers or through the parents. And then we address those things directly because the teachers have had in-service training with regard to bullying that we were very pleased to receive, and implementing ways to educate the children as well as to share in guiding and teaching them more appropriate behavior.
Let me ask you, Casady, I understand, has kids from pre-kindergarten or kindergarten up through the 12th grade.
Right.
And so you are dealing with kids of all ages.
That's right.
Where do you spend the predominant amount of your time? Is it with the upper school kids, the high school kids, the middle school, or the lower school kids?
I try to be available to all of the divisions, but the predominant issues of concern often will start more in the lower division, which is 1st through 4th grade, and then work up through the grades. And I see a lot of students from the 3 different divisions, but more perhaps from upper division.
Let me follow up a little bit. We talked in the opening segment, and many of our viewers have seen the pictures of these very, very young children who appear to be in a tantrum, being handcuffed by security guards or police, and people come on after that and say it wasn't appropriate to handcuff that young person. There ought to be another way to deal with it. If you were faced with a child, and maybe you probably have been, but if you were faced with a child out of control at the school and were called in to address this child that's punching, kicking, yelling, screaming, what would you do?
I haven't addressed that at Casady per se, but I have addressed that in other school environments. And what you need to be doing is approaching the child quickly, confidently, and quietly, and get the child out of that environment and allow them to have a space where they can cool down and where you can get them removed from whatever those stressors were or whatever the stimulus was that started the problem. And if it's an internal kind of thing where they have emotional kind of issues that are prompting those things, then you're going to be doing a different kind of intervention to help them. But you need to be working as a team with the faculty, and you need to consult with parents and then be able to get special care for that child, because it's going to require treatment for that child and family to be able to heal and grow and not have those kind of temper tantrums or acting out behaviors that were problematic.
We're visiting with Dr. Marcia Moore. She's from Casady School, and the show is about dealing with children and the social and societal issues that all of us are so concerned about. We appreciate you being here. We'll be right back with more with Dr. Moore when we get back on The Verdict.
KSBI TV is giving away a wedding valued at $15,000 in our spectacular wedding sweepstakes. Wedding rings from Navy Fine Jewelry, the gown, tuxedos, a spa package, honeymoon, and more. Watch Hello Oklahoma every weekday morning for your chance to qualify. Then watch how one couple's journey began with KSBI TV and the Learning Channel's Perfect Proposal on May 31st. We'll draw the winner live on Hello Oklahoma Friday, May 27th from KSBI TV, family television for Oklahoma.
All children deserve a life of hope and love, but sometimes they experience a life of pain, neglect, and abuse.
When that happens, each child deserves all the quality assistance and representation that can be offered in our legal system. For more information, call 23-CHILD.
Oklahoma Lawyers for Children, helping to bring hope and love back to the lives of abused children.
Need more storage space? Why settle for plastic or overpriced pre-built units when you can have a custom storage shed delivered or built on site? Smith's Backyard Builders is family-owned and operated and offers quality workmanship for a price that will surprise you. Find out about our great financing when you visit us during our grand opening sale at 29th and Douglas. We have many styles and sizes to choose from and provide high-quality sheds. Let Smith's Backyard Builders remove the hassle of transporting or building your own storage and custom build the perfect storage unit for your needs. Come see us at 29th and Douglas and find out what we can build for you. Smith's Backyard Builders, 610-6178.
In America today, hundreds of thousands of self-employed and small business owners are being successful, thanks to the National Association for the Self-Employed. The NASE gives them health benefits, advice on tax breaks, discounts, and more discounts, business advice, credit card processing, and so much more. Join the thousands who know NASE benefits make the difference. Call your NASE representative today.
The Journal-Record is pleased to be a sponsor of The Verdict. The Journal-Record, since 1903, the best source of Oklahoma business news and legal information.
Welcome back to the set of The Verdict. We are dealing and discussing issues involving parenting and children with Dr. Marcia Moore, who works at Casady Schools in Oklahoma City. Kent, where do you want to go to now?
I want to go back to the out-of-control, very young child that was handcuffed, not to that specific child, of course, but to that circumstance where the child is out of control. Once you get the child calmed down, is your work over, or do you have other things to do in relation to that particular child?
With that individual child, you may help at that moment to help calm down, but then you've got to work in concert with the teachers to be able to educate them in terms of how they can work with the child more effectively. You need to interview the parents and see what the needs may be for within their family system, and then work as a team to have the intervention that's necessary for that individual child, whatever prompted the display of behavior. It's not finished.
What kind of conduct do students face today, do they engage in today, that schools have to be aware of and deal with, drinking and the like, and how does Casady deal with those varying kinds of conduct?
The conduct issues we address through things that are part of character development and through clarifying values within our school and being able to start teaching things related to character issues like integrity, self-control, responsibility, honesty. Those things start very early on and are integrated across the curriculum from the time the children are very little. And we have a program in our chapel that reinforces that, and we have an honor code that has been there since the early 90s for upper division with a group of students, 6 students who are chosen by their peers and 3 teachers who actually hear grievances that are part of any violations of that honor code. So they are accountable, but they're also learning through their whole development about appropriate behavior. And then we also try to look at things that are prevention and wellness oriented because of the things, that, again, that are part of the culture with awareness, with suicide awareness and prevention, for example. We have an excellent program that was student initiated, and we go into educating all of the upper division students and students in the 7th and 8th grade of the middle division about suicide and issues that are a part of that prevention and being able to take care of oneself, what your role should be if you see a person or have a friend who's struggling with these kind of problems. And then we also are working in combination with the Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services and Contact Crisis Helpline, which is now Heartline, with the program for that purpose with our students and our faculty, our administrators, our parents. We also are very concerned and want to be proactive in the area of drugs and alcohol. And we have a program that is working with that's called Freedom from Chemical Dependency, with a team that comes into our school for a 4-day program, working with 3 different grade levels. And we have rotated through from even as young as 4th grade, where we're looking at decision making and character issues, being able to say no, how do you set boundaries that are appropriate, because those are the initial skills needed when the children then are tempted or they are seduced into using some kind of a chemical potentially. So that is another area, and we work with the whole idea of a safe environment. And that is where learning occurs, is in a safe environment.
Well, in general, are parents prepared for the children of today? If you assume that a child is born today, it was a lot like a child that was born in another generation, but growing up is different today. Is parenting different today, and are parents equipped?
Parenting is different today in a lot of ways, yes. And some of those are very positive, because we have the opportunity to do things that technology may allow us to have more time to spend with our children if in fact we prioritize that. But one of the sad things that happens is that even though parents are well-meaning, they may not know and have the skills and tools needed for real positive parenting. And so one of the things that we try to do at Casady is provide parenting seminars. And we have partnered in collaboration with OSU and their clinical psychology department to provide a seminar for the parents with children between pre-kindergarten and 2nd grade, and then next year we'll do it between the parents of children 3rd through 5th, but also have a social skills training option for the children who may benefit from that kind of intervention, because parents have a lot of stresses as a result of those things that are within the environment and so different now.
I know you have a history in public school as well. Are parents generally receptive of advice that you might give, or might they say that you should mind your own business? What's been your experience?
I think most of the time parents are guarded at first because they are uncertain, and there still is a stigma associated with psychology for many people, and yet mine is a perspective of development and normal healthy development and encouraging and supporting that, and they learn to know that as I interact with them. And some people will say, no, I don't want anything to do with you or any of the services that may be available, but many others will be curious and ask questions and then get involved and really find that they can benefit, because as we learn together, I learn from them and they learn from me, we're in a place to be able to help their children better, and that's the whole goal.
You have a wide breadth of experience in public school, private practice, and the like. One thing we haven't talked about is eating disorders. Do you get involved in that? And if so, how do you identify it? How do you address it at Casady or any place?
I think that the concern with eating disorders is very, very important, because as you know, eating disorders can lead to death. And we need to be alert by training our faculty and educating our parents and students with regard to symptoms, the issues that may feed into those kinds of problems, and then be equipped to identify the kids that may be at risk. And problems with eating disorders may start as young as even 5th or 6th grade, very young children. 9, 10, 11 years old. So what we're doing now at Casady is we're going to be having a seminar that is addressing this very issue in May with our upper division students, and then we're going to have another separate session for the parents to attend. And we believe that this is a place to begin. You have to be educated, but then when you see problems, we know that this is a very private and a personal thing, and it cannot be something publicly acknowledged with an adolescent, because it is more damaging potentially if you are too forthright and open about that. So we want to be able to work with the student individually, and consult with the parents, and then get the proper care for that adolescent and their family. One of my significant roles is to serve as a referral source for providers in the community in all different areas of need, whether it's about a learning difference and intervention there, or whether it may be an eating disorder and having a therapist available, or whether we may need to do psychoeducational testing. I do screening, but all of those things are proactive so that we don't just ignore it and it's not a secret. We've got to get it out where we pay attention and we respect the need, and then we're proactive to address it.
Dr. Moore, we're going to have you back because I have about 10 more questions. We have to have you back for more than that. But I appreciate you taking the time to come out here today. We appreciate what you're doing. I know you had some valuable insight for the parents that are watching our show today. And if there's a kid watching today, I'm sure they learn twice as much.
If they're up this time on Sunday morning, I hope so.
We appreciate them all.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Kent and I'll be back. Final word after this.
KSBI TV and the Learning Channel have teamed up for the most romantic wedding proposal that you'll ever see. Ryan, an Oklahoma City police officer, had KSBI TV and TLC create a perfect proposal that Carrie will never forget. KSBI TV staged a contest, found a winner, trained our victim.
Watch this, watch this, watch this. I can circle. Okay, so there's your clicker. Okay, don't push any buttons yet, or the whole station will blow up.
Yeah. A lot of... Ooh, in Baton Rouge, we have 63 degrees.
I like the ooh.
And send her on her way to do a story in Bricktown.
The water taxis are great, but okay, can you...
The surprise? An amazing perfect proposal. Watch Perfect Proposal on TLC Tuesday, May 31st at 10 a.m. and watch Carrie and Ryan on Hello Oklahoma May 27th as they draw the winner of our spectacular wedding sweepstakes. KSBI TV, family television for Oklahoma.
What if you could earn your college degree from a leading accredited university, from home, at the office, or while traveling? At University of Phoenix Online, you attend class when and where you want via the internet. You learn from current industry leaders, and you can earn your degree in just 2 or 3 years, so you can start applying it toward your success. University of Phoenix Online, the intelligent way to attend class. Financing available.
Hello there, welcome back to the set of The Verdict. Mick Cornett with Kent Myers, and we are wrapping up another show.
Yeah, thanks to Dr. Marcia Moore from Casady School and talking to us about the pressures that face students and the school and the parents in today's environment, a very different environment than what we were used to, and they do a grand job in trying to deal with difficult problems. We're going next Sunday to stay on the school line of inquiry, but from a very different perspective. We're going to have John Belt and Jay Smith join us next Sunday morning to talk about the Harding Fine Arts Center, which is a new charter school starting up for the first time in the fall with the 9th grade. But the emphasis there in this charter school is going to be on the fine arts. And I think it will be something that will be interesting, fascinating to see how they got it started and what they intend to do with it. Should be an interesting show.
And as always, we'd like to give web information that you can get more information about our guest. Dr. Marcia Moore can be reached at casady.org. That's CASADY.org. and I'm sure there's a way to contact her as well. And of course, you can reach us on theverdict.tv. That's theverdict.tv. We'd love to hear an idea that you have for a future show. For Kent Myers, I'm Mick Cornett. We'll see you next week on The Verdict.